From my research, it seems like there are a series of predictable and repeatable steps that people take towards an intentional career. Now, I should mention that they go from one, two, three, four to five. I want you to be able to get to feeling purposeful and valued in the workplace. What often happens is we fall right back down to the beginning again when we start a new opportunity. If you find yourself at number one, you don't have to go through the suffering of two to three to get to four to five. So, what I'm going to do is describe each one in turn, and I want you to think about where you sit in this intentional careers journey as things currently stand today. So, the first stage of the intentional careers journey is one that is largely unconscious. I said before, it's that I've actively stepped onto this career conveyor belt, but it's just kind of naturally unfolded in front of me. The next opportunity presented itself to me. The hallmarks of an unconscious phase is pleasing other people, saying yes to everything, becoming that go-to person to get things done, proving yourself, and in response to that, we end up overworking. I know this is true for me as well, because when I was getting to the end of my PhD, I'd said I'm going to do this PhD to figure out what I want to do next. It would give me a whole 4 years. But somehow I never created the time or space to actually work that stuff out. I was far too busy just in my career. So when I was thinking about the next steps, we'd just got married. We're thinking about starting to have a family. And I did this mental flip in my head and looked 2 steps ahead of me. And I found that in a department of over 200, only 5 of those 200 were women. And of those 5 women, only 2 had young children. So that really left me questioning, is this career pathway even possible for me? But I was on that career conveyor belt and I didn't know what else I wanted to do. And I was recommended by a colleague for that next step for a postdoc. And although I showed up for that interview, although it was my CV and credentials, I felt like I only really got that position because of my contact rather than anything I did to deserve it. So that left me feeling like I got lucky here. I need to prove myself. And that's when I slipped into this phase, proving, pleasing, and overworking. I doubled down on those efforts because a couple of weeks after starting that position on a 12-month contract, I fell pregnant with Oscar, my first child. And that just left me feeling like there must be 100 people waiting in the wings, ready to take my place at any time. So I just made sure that I was indispensable so that I would even have my contract extended and have a job to come back to after mat leave. And it worked a treat. But the problem was I did that for some time. I made myself indispensable. I was just about to go on mat leave. I was offered a series of advice from people. One person said, I went back to work 2 weeks after having a baby. I just got a nanny. I went, okay. Someone else said, I wrote my fellowship in the first 12 weeks after giving birth because they don't do much for the first 12 weeks. That actually turns out to be false. I can guarantee that they don't do any sleeping for the first 12 weeks. And then someone else said, make maternity leave look like it never happened on your CV. What I took from that was, you really should be doing something with this mat leave. So 5 days after giving birth, I'd had a 1 liter hemorrhage. I was green under the eyes. I was back on my computer typing away furiously to project partners across the globe. Oscar was in that Moses basket. It was complete madness, but I felt like at that time I had no choice. When I returned back to work in what I call that superhuman mode of operating, I continued to operate in that way for some time. And this is when I slipped into phase number 2, which is feeling unfulfilled. When I returned back to work, I started doing a project management type role because that worked best in a 70% FTE. And over some period of time, a couple of years, I became, one of the most qualified. And there was a position to get promoted to the next grade up. And I got completely overlooked for that position because my manager said, well, you've got 2 kids already and it involves a bit of travel. So this one's not for you. And what I took from that was they actually don't think that you're good enough to do it. I now know that that's discrimination, but actually at the time, I started to feel really overlooked, underappreciated, and underpaid for all of that hard work. And then that tipped me into this unsustainable phase. That's where I've got 25 plus years to go in my career. But now I've had a knock to my confidence. So I've not increased my confidence over time. It's actually eroded. And I don't have full clarity on the next steps. So I simultaneously feel like I want to leave, but I also feel stuck. That's the phase right here, that unsustainable phase, to make sure we don't slip into that bright, shiny object syndrome, that fear-based decision making. This is the moment to actually plan it out properly. When we do that, we can take ourselves straight into feeling purposeful in the workplace. This is where we've restored our confidence. We know how to have a sustainable working pattern where we have good work-life balance. And we've got alignment between our purpose, our mission, and our vision. So we understand where we're heading, why it's important to us, what drives us, why we even get out of bed, and we're getting great results as well. And that then tips us into phase number 5, which is feeling really valued in the workplace. We know how to value ourselves, we're being valued by other people, and we're making a valuable contribution to the world too. That's where you can self-navigate your next steps. You've got that leadership mindset and that authenticity where you're no longer showing up with armor to get through the day. Where you are in one phase of your life, whether it's at work, at home with friends, you're able to show up as who you truly are in the world. So those are the 5 steps. And I want you to reflect now, which stage of the intentional careers journey do you feel that you're currently